The people watching the replay, we have about 7 or 8 minutes until 3 o'clock when we start the actual live. For everyone else, close your eyes because I cannot adjust my phone until I actually turn on the live stream. So I'm going to move things around. If you get dizzy, it's not my fault. Close your eyes. Don't look. Come on, phone. There we go. I have that new tripod. I don't think I've used it on a live yet, so I'm trying to figure out where to put everything. Whoop, there we go. And it won't, darn phone won't let me zoom out anymore. Okay, so that's it. It's really weird because sometimes YouTube will allow me to zoom my phone out more and other times it won't let me do anything. I'm going to press buttons. If I disappear, I'll come back. No worries. Let me just press buttons. No, we don't want to mute the microphone. Guess that's as zoomy as I can get. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I am playing with someone sent me some Dresden plates. That's what I'm guessing they are based on the shape. And I just wanted to see if I could sew them together into a zipper pouch. So I'm going to sew and play a little bit while we wait for everyone to come in. Hi, Lynette Marie. Welcome, welcome. I did pop up a little quick answer to your question. And then I thought, oh, it's getting close to coming on live. So I thought I'd explain. A quick explanation on Patreon. If you join any level from $5 and up, you get however many Sundays there are a month. So you'll get a video every Sunday at 9 a.m., just like I do 9 a.m.s here. And I allow my patrons to vote on what projects we're going to work on. I choose the projects, but they could also suggest them. We've been doing a lot of mini quilts and mug rugs and table toppers and pillows and things like that because that's what everyone seems to enjoy. I've set my Patreon, hold on, back up. This is what regular videos I get to delete and start over. A lot of Patreon channels have specific tiers, and each tier you get a different reward for the tiers. Over the years now, I've been doing Patreon. I think this is my 4th year, and we've discussed on what works for everyone. And what they decided is they like to have a video every day, every day, that would be hard, every Sunday, once a week, and that they would choose the tier that they could afford to support me at. So if you can only afford the $5 tier, you're going to get the same benefits of videos that someone who can support me at a $45 a month tier. That way there's no punishment for not being able to afford or not willing and wanting to support at a higher level. So I think that's really nice. I like that approach. And then each tier gets a special reward. Some of them, you just get a video and you get a Christmas fabric postcard. Others get a fabric postcard every month. The higher tiers, there's nobody on them right now, but when someone decides to go to a higher tier, we'll discuss it personally through emails or messages, and I will reward them at a higher level. Other people get a postcard every 4 months, every 6 months, so it varies. You can go over there and look and see the tiers and what the dollar amounts are, but they're pretty much, people wanted them really close, because some people, I had like a $10 tier and a $20 tier, but they wanted to do 15, so I put in a $15 tier. So I just, thanks Vicki, so I just kind of put the tiers 5, 10, 15, 20, I just kept going on up to the higher tiers, so that whoever wants to support at whatever level that they're comfortable with, that they can choose that tier. And I can only support at so many, and I like to support a lot of patrons at lower levels instead of just one patron at a high level. That way I kind of, what little money I have to share, I can spread it out everywhere. And other people only watch 1 or 2 channels, so they only want to support those 1 or 2 channels. So whatever everyone wants to do, there's a nice broad selection for everybody. I haven't figured out what to say beyond babbling like that. I'm trying to figure out a nice, professionally, not professional because you know I'm never going to be professional, but a nice, understandable, I need to write a script for that Patreon video. This is what Patreon is, these are the tiers, so I can explain each of them. But that's just your basic everyday, that's what it is, and that's what we do over there. So I don't know who's here. I mean, I can see a bunch of people and I don't want to miss anyone's name, so I'm just going to say Hello to everyone, and isn't this fabric gorgeous? Let me show you some of the other ones. I've been running around all day. Today was the day that I did, this is the first crafty thing I've done, and it's almost 3 o'clock. I had a pain management appointment this morning. My doctor, I love my doctor, but he was with this private company, this private medical firm, and the owner decided to retire, so they were bought out by the hospital system here. So I used to go 3 miles down the road, 2 miles down the road. I go in and out in 10 minutes. It was a great time. Now I've got to drive about 7 miles, which is no big deal, to the hospital. And it's like a 45-minute to an hour visit because you spend more time sitting and waiting. And they want you to pee in a cup all the time. And I know it's too personal, but I hate peeing in a cup. And then I did Walmart pickup for the very first time today. And of course, they missed 4 of the items that I ordered. But it was okay because I ordered 5 of one item and they gave me 1. So that's enough for me for now. And I tell you, with 1 Walmart pickup, I am already hooked. So I don't remember who sent me these, but I am in love with them. Look at this fabric. This fabric is just beautiful. I love the daisy fabric, and it has the polka dots, and it has this fun fabric. So it has all of these, and I sorted them by size. And then I'm going to guess that it's from the same person. I think I know who it is because of the basic scraps I've received in the past from them. Yes, Vicki, you're not allowed in the state of Florida, and I'm sure it's like that in other places. If you're in a pain management system, you're not allowed to take any other types of drugs. And there's certain ones that even, like if you don't announce that you're taking a certain prescription and they test for it, then you can get in trouble and you get kicked out and you can't go to the pain management anymore. Then there was these stars, white on yellow and yellow on white. They're so pretty. And the hospital has just stricter rules than a regular. This hospital system has, I don't know how they manage, but they've got a monopoly here. And more, the doctors, like everything else in businesses, they just can't afford to not be part of that health system where they get a steady paycheck. And unfortunately, they just monopolize everything, and they make up their own rules as they go because they're so big. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to take a second to sew some of these a little bit more. That one's extra, just to get this finished off. And then we're going to look at the zipper pouches. I thought we would sew a quick zipper pouch with just 1 piece of fabric and no scraps, just to get an idea for it. Down below in the description box, I put a link to my zipper playlist. There's all kinds of zipper things on there, zipper pouches, tote bags and stuff. And then I put a link to my most popular zipper pouch video. It's for coin pouches, and it's very, very beginner friendly. So you can kind of hang out with us and do your thing and watch what I'm doing. And then if you need me to hold your hand and go slow, instead of going through the live stream, then let me just get rid of these notifications because I can't see the talking. Then you can go step by step and rewind and pause and stuff, because the live stream, I'm not going to give you that much details. Today we're talking more about how to use scrap fabric and create a zipper pouch. Yeah, Vicki, it's the same thing down here. I guess it's about that. Jackie, I'm sorry. I don't have any control over my volume. I'm on my phone. You want me, do I need to talk louder, Jackie? Are you the only one having problems, or is everyone going to tell me that my volume is low? Let me know, and I can raise my voice, because normally I yell a little louder. Today I'm not as loud. I can try putting on the mic. If it's too bad, I can put the microphone on, but I just have to be careful because it attaches to the phone. Sounds good for you? Volume's fine for you guys? Okay. Sorry, Jackie. YouTube is making messes with you over there. It always seems to happen to at least 1 or 2 people during the live stream. I used the microphone on that one video and it totally messed everything up, and I've been scared to use it on anything else ever since. And as usual today, I'm going to show you a few different options. Just like on my Patreon channel, I like to let you guys choose. I'm going to make all of these, but you can choose what we make today. So let me finish this and I will pull out the fabrics to show you what we're working on. And I only want to finish this because I'm too easily sidetracked and I don't want to have any issues. I'm going to give this a good press and let you guys know what it looks like. Now for this one, I'm not being fancy about my pressing. I'm just kind of pressing it whichever way it wants to go because of the shapes. So I'm just doing the thing where you just kind of hold it and let it roll. But since I have, let me go from the back. I'm not making squares that need to be precise. I mean, I don't want puckers or anything. Oh yeah, I think that might be fun. Just steam it like crazy. Never mind, one speaker is turned on. Aha, Jackie, you sound like me. I'll be like, why is it, I can't hear nothing. I didn't turn any speaker on. So let me see from here. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think this fabric kind of sticks out a little weird looking, but the rest of them are pretty good. So if you look at it, put a fabric either on the top or just a zipper. I like that. Okay. Where's the extra one? Let me put these away so I can turn. You're going to see a zipper pouch out of that soon. But we can't make this today because I don't have any fabrics pulled for that one. And I don't want to disappear too much on you. I tried to bring everything we need into this room. This is a pouch. I'm going to show you. I have this all set up to just sew as a pouch. If you guys have any questions, hold on. There was a big truck outside my window. It's the debris truck looking for stuff from the hurricane, but we don't have anything left. If you have any questions, if you could try to put them in capital. Oh, that's great. I love it when, okay, when your patient takes a nap and you can take a breather. I'm not really a nurse type personality. I'm good with the family and husband and kids, but other people, I don't know. I'm sure I'd have the patience if I have to, but it's nice when anyone you're responsible settles down for a little nap so you can have a few minutes of adjusting from like morning to afternoon. So if you have questions, if you put them in capitals or if the moderators catch them and I miss them, I tend to put my head down and sew, and when I look up, the chat goes so fast I miss everything. But I have this, I have all my fusible fleece on it, I have my zipper chosen. So I think today we are working on almost all fabrics that were sent to me. Oh, burr, everyone's getting snow. So here is, this one's the one we're gonna sew. I've got my lining and everything. We're just gonna do basic, simple zipper pouches. So what I pulled, okay, so here is the jewel tones from a previous project. When I have little bits left over like this, I just go ahead and I save them in a zipper pouch. Now these are only, these are 1.5 inches wide, so they're great. I work with 1.5 inches wide. That's like my favorite thing, it seems. I use those all the time. So these will probably get turned into a tote bag because there's so many of them. But I just wanted to show you them since I had them there. Now I pulled this one. So I found these fabrics. Let me give you a little bit of a close-up. Let's call these 70s fabric. So we have all of these. Now they were cut off from something. Somebody had fun. It looks like a go cutter or some type of cutting system like that, because they all have these little weird things, so they need to be trimmed up. So I have that 70s fabric, and I thought I had this to go with it, and I have this to go with it, and this, and I thought they all went kind of okay with this. What I do when I'm choosing fabric like this, I went to Google and I'm like, hey Google, what goes good with pink and brown? And they show you all kinds of rooms to decorate with, so you can choose your colors based on decorating schemes from, you know, the rooms and stuff like that. This is a fabric postcard, but I wanted to show you these too, just to get an idea. Now these scraps are, they're about 7/8, and some of them are even skinnier. See how tiny these are? When I have fabric scraps this small, I like to just put them on a fabric postcard, and I can lay them down like when you're doing salvages and you overlap them by 1/4 of an inch. I can just go like this, and I can move the seam up and down and just lay them, or I could sew them all together depending on what I want. And then that way I can make a fabric postcard. I would of course move them around so that they're not like that. Or you can sew them all end to end and do like a jelly roll race, which I think I might do for these, and put them all on a diagonal so that as you're going, none of the seams will go up like that. So that's something you can do with your teeny tiny scraps. And I love all my zippy bags. I was making Frankenpiece batting during my free time the last couple days. Then I found these. These are from a very old project. Nope, I lied. Did I lie? I don't know. These are either mine or someone else's. I can't remember. They look like something I worked on, or a combination of mine and someone else's. Like, I'm pretty sure I had some of these, but if you guys tell me you sent them, then, you know, call me out on it, because I don't remember. And I thought these would look nice against this black fabric. I think I got this for an advent. So we'll call this the jewel tones. So we have 70s and we have jewel tone. I think those were the two I figure we'll choose from. But just to show some other things that I have, someone sent me their leftovers from 10-inch squares. Yeah, I thought the diagonal placement, it kind of changes it up a little bit. You can turn it into a hot pad or things like that. And when I was working on stuff yesterday, I came across these. And these are from a layer cake because they are 10 inches long and they're 1 inch wide. So I just went ahead and I sewed all of these together based on their color families. And I thought that those would be nice too. You can turn these into a zipper pouch, or they can be mug rug as is. Maybe you want to border them up depending on the size. Or you can, I can chop them up for postcards or turn them into zipper pouches. So I found those and spent a little time sewing those together. I've been going through, here's a decision I made. I am going to sell my house. I've decided that based on the damages to the house from the hurricane and what it's going to cost to repair it, that it's just going to be better to sell it. I was actually, FEMA finally came. It was finally my turn on the list, and I was sitting around talking to the FEMA lady for a while, and we both agreed that with the condition my house is in, with the damage from the hurricanes and stuff, that would probably be better to just cut my losses instead of putting tons and tons of money into fixing up the house. So I've been going through and organizing things and getting things ready to pack. I'm in no rush to do it right this moment, but I need to do it soonish. So I'm going through and I'm getting rid of the things that I don't need anymore. I purge every year, but now I'm doing a major purge. And I've been going through and, you know, at the end of the day, when I've done my videos and I've done my 2 hours of cleaning and purging, it's nice to just sit down and sew something that doesn't take, you know, anything to do. I can just sit there and sew these together, spend a half hour, an hour, and I'm good. All right, Sue Smith, you got to help me out. It looks like a person to me, but this is from that flower quilt you were making, right? With those tiny little flowers. It looks like a lady with a bonnet, and then she has her arms. Here's her face and her hair and a little dress, because that's what I see it as. It's an iris. There's a little green on there. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'll probably turn it into a hot pad or something like that, or a coaster. But I see a lady who has, like I said, a little kitchen bonnet on. Here's her little face and her arms and her little apron and stuff. So I have that one to play with. Then I found this. So these are going to be great things to do. It is a woman with a bonnet and everything. I got that right? I'm shocked. These are fun things to just spend a little bit of time at the end of the day, in the afternoon, or a little bit in the morning to warm you up. Here's the square to square batiks. This was left over from a tote bag, but this measures 11 1/4 inches, I can turn that into like a pencil box. Nice. I can turn that into a pencil box, a pencil zipper pouch. Doesn't have to be very tall, border it a little bit, make room for the zipper, or I could put a little box bottom on it, and then that would be fun too. Oh, I had it right side up. Okay. Well, forever it's going to be a lady in a bonnet now, Sue. It's no longer an iris, it's a lady in a bottom. Yeah, it's a shame I have to sell. We've been in this house, we're coming up to 21 years now, but sometimes you just have to move on. Don't get me going, I'll cry. All right, so I want to start with the blue one, but do you guys want to work on the jewel tone or do you want to work on the 70s? I also had all these little bits from a boho one. I don't know why I had it over in your pile. I'm not going to do anything with those today, but I'm going to put eyeballs on it and everything. You watch. The jewel tone, I think so too. I really like the jewel tone. I've had so many changes in the past 5 years that I'm good to go. What's one more change, right? What is one more change in life? I might actually get that fabric room cleaned out instead of being in dumping grounds. Oh my goodness, it's so bad in there. Okay, so we're gonna work on this one, but like I said, I want to do that blue one first. And I brought my lining fabric in, and I have my bin of zippers. I don't choose, well, I'm not going to talk about that. We'll hold off on that. Let's make a zipper pouch really quick, and then we can go ahead and start in on the Scrappy one. But I want you guys to have the basics so I can show you how it goes before I just go blah, 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 this is how it is, la, la, la. But you have those links down below. I'll see if I can do it this way for you guys. So I have to decide which one I want for the front and which one I want for the back, which doesn't matter. You can turn it either way, but I'm going to put the zipper to the left, and I like this one. Jody, my kids have been looking at 2-story homes. They want to put mom downstairs and have the top floor for themselves. So this is the top. Did I decide? Let me see. They're both about the same, so I don't think it matters. So this is the top. I have to turn it this way. And I use the clippy clips versus pins just because I don't get stabbed by the clips. They don't make me bleed. Now zippers have two sides. Right side up is the side that has the zipper pull and the zipper. And that's just an easy way to remember that. I buy mine down below in the description box. I buy them from YKK, from Zip It, I believe it is, on Etsy. I make sure I get a zipper that's wider than my pouch. It just makes my life easier. You can have one that's exactly the same size, and you can use metal ones and stuff, but I like the plastic ones just because it's easy. So I just have fusible fleece on the back. You can quilt it, but this is like an outdoor, like a pillow material or something, like upholstery material. Oh, they don't want me to visit up there. They just want to put mom in the downstairs on the first floor with the kitchen and stuff like that in the master bedroom, and then they can stay upstairs so that, because they're nighttime people and I'm morning people, and we're going to live together in the same house. That's part of that conversation. So they want to have it separate. It's funny, we were talking about it the other day, because when we live together, we're going to see each other the same amount that we do now, like hardly ever. Again, they sleep in until like noon or 2, and then they're up all night, and I'm up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'm zonked out by 9 o'clock at night. I'm in my room or whatever. So we'll be like passing every now and then because I work all the way up until 4 or 5 o'clock. So we'll hardly see each other anyway, even living in the same house. So zipper teeth down. Okay, now we're chatting, and we're gonna set a little mental timer here. It's 3:15. Now zipper pouches take, the longest part for me is choosing my fabrics. and cutting them out. Well, not even cutting them out, because a zipper pouch like this, just using a front fabric and a back, doesn't take much. I put a lot of clips in because I don't want it to move. I have a clip in the center, a clip on each end, and then 2 in between. So 7 of them. I like a lot. And I always start clipping from the center so that the fabric works its way out. Now this first clipping is not that important because I'm going to add the liner. Now, if you're really new to this, you can take this over and then go down and stitch it right now to hold these 2 pieces together. But I'm okay with taking it and flipping it over and then adding my lining. No, I'm not doing it right. See, I did that before and made the wrong one. Rewind. I have to put right sides together of my outer pouch and my lining. And you'll see why I can confuse myself sometimes, even on my own. So then I'll just reclip, and I'll make sure all 3, the zipper and the 2 pieces of fabric, are lined up at the top, lined up at the edges. You can always trim it off, unless you're trying to make a zipper pouch to exactly fit something. If it gets a little off, it's okay. We can straighten up the edges. So there we have it. Now I sew from this side. Let me show you, so that I can go along with the zipper teeth. And you see this line right there? That's where the zipper company wants you to put your stitching, right on that line. But you can put it anywhere you want as long as it's on there. I just use a zipper foot, and for me, this is, come on there. I put a B in it for brother and a J for Juki, because while my brother and Juki are interchangeable, they are off by the slightest of, some of them just like an 1/8 of an inch. It's off just a little bit, and it makes it so it doesn't work. So I take this one off and put this one in. I love intergenerational housing too. The kids and I get along really great. To be honest, if it was Rob and I living with the kids, it wouldn't work out. But I don't mess with the kids. As long as it's going to be more of, would you please leave me alone so I can get my work done? I'm used to living on my own and not talking to anyone. Would you please go do something and leave me alone? My daughter came over. She's like, I want to talk. I'm like, well, I forgot I have to get this video up tonight. And I just started editing it, and it's 5 o'clock at night. So I love you, but go home. So I'm just going to stitch all 3 of these together, 2.0 stitch length. Get rid of the first zipper. I just put it in to hold it. I actually have a little bit of I have a blue mark from a permanent marker here, just to show me where to line up the fabric right along that mark. You can also put the edge of your zipper foot right along the zipper teeth there, whatever works. And I found that either put a bunch of pins in, or I hold this, and I like to make sure I'm holding down on the side of the fabric that you can't see. I'll show you in a second. And I find that it works better for me to hold everything down and hold it in place, so all 3 pieces stay together firmly. Sometimes it gets hooked up on the back of the presser foot. You just don't want any puckers or tucks or anything. Closer to the zipper teeth than most people do, just because, I don't know, it's just the way I taught myself, and that's the way I do it. But as I'm sewing, I put fingers down here, and I just kind of press it down or hold it to make sure like nothing's creeping up anywhere, because sometimes I'll notice and it'll get like a little bubble or something. So I just want to make sure that from here to here in front of my needle, everything is good. And forget about the rest of that. That part's not going through your needle. Who cares what it's doing? You're not ready for it yet. When you're ready for it, then you'll be all set. Sometimes you just have to tell them, I love you, but you're just, if you have something important to tell me, no, I just thought I'd stop by on the way home. I'm like, okay then. I love you, but you're going to have to keep on going home. And my daughter, I love my daughter, but she usually has an ulterior motive. It's usually not just, oh, I just stopped by to say hi. Oh, can I borrow this, or can I get this, or hey, can I just ramble on for a bit? It's always an ulterior motive, just because she can. I mean, we talk, we text and stuff like that. So here it is, right sides together with my zipper, and I just press this over like this, and I flip it, and I leave my lining. Now, you have to watch out for your zipper teeth. They are plastic, so you don't want to hold your zipper on them for very long. But if you hit them a little bit, it's normally perfectly okay. And then I just make sure on this side, I mean, this is just extra right now. I'm not stitching anything else yet. When I first started making these, I would go back and top stitch this. But now I wait till I have both sides, and then I go ahead. So here we have our zipper. Here's the right side up on one side. So now I'm gonna look at this. And I decided to put this up at the top because it kind of matches this a little bit, even though it's on the back. Or did I decide to put it on the bottom? I think I decided to, let me see, let me measure. I forgot. It's 3/8. It's gonna disappear no matter where I put it. So for 3/8, I'm gonna put that on the bottom because I use a 3/8 seam allowance. Okay. Right sides together, and we're going to line this up at the top of the zipper. So we have our fabric down on this side already, so we need to sew it on the top half. Line it up on the sides and at the top of the zipper, and you're not going to have it lined up at the bottom. It's not going to match. And then I go through and I pop my little clippies on again. I have a few metal zips also. They're smaller for like coin pouches. I either bought them at a thrift store or they were shared with me, passed down. I don't know how I got them. Flip it over so we have our lining side. Now we're going to put right sides together. And again, we're going to line it up at the top, and it won't match at the bottom, but you want to try to get it to match the sides to the best that you can. Make sure all three pieces are lined up at the top. And then I'm going to sew it from the right side up on the zipper. It doesn't really matter much because, I mean, you can't see this because, oops, sorry guys, it's all covered, but you know it's there and you can see where to line up your needle to begin with. But I find it easier to run the side of my zipper foot along the teeth of the zipper versus on the back side. But I think if you do it from the back, you could probably get away with not using a zipper foot. Some of you guys who have those little skinny 1/4 inch feet, I think you could sew this using one of those if you don't have a zipper foot. I like to start before I get to the fabric on that extra bit of zipper tape, just to keep any of that extra funky thread from getting in the way. And then I usually have to lift it up a little bit to make sure it doesn't crinkle there. And then I just sew. Again, pressing down here to keep everybody nice and lined up. Now you can go as slow as you want because you want to make sure you're not getting puckers. With some practice, you'll make sure that you have the same amount of zipper tape showing all the time. Voila. Yeah, I think it's all they had back when is the metal ones, right? Just make sure you don't have anything folded here. Just like when we're doing a quilt block, we just want to make sure everything's flat. This is the back of the zipper, so I don't have any problem going like that. And then here's the front. I like to keep it down here so I can put the tip of my iron, and I just, you can press them to make sure they're apart. And then here I just make sure, if you're using batting or you're using the fusible fleece, it will hold on to your lining fabric so you can make sure everything is nice and pretty. Now we're going to top stitch. And I like the top stitch. First, when I first started doing it, I thought, oh my goodness, I have to make sure I'm top stitching right on the zipper tape. Our goal here is to keep the lining from coming, when you unzip the pouch, from the lining from creeping up and getting into the zipper. So really, it doesn't matter if you're 1/8 of an inch down or you're 1/4 of an inch. You just want to hold the lining and the outer fabric together. Sorry about my squeaky chair. I had to put hose clamps on it to keep it from sinking down all the time, so now it squeaks. So I'm going to go all the way through. Now you could put some pins in, or you could put some clips. As I'm sewing, I usually just make sure that the lining and the outer is there, and I might go like this. If you can go slow or fast and do this in almost one entire pass without stopping, you have a better chance of getting a straight line. I found if I don't sit here and try to mess with it and make sure it's all straight and adjust it, I always got crooked lines. So if I just go quick, then it usually goes pretty good. Now for this one, I don't want, you're going to see this inside the pouch sometimes, depending on where you start. So I usually just either hold back both pieces of thread or just pull it up to the top. Give it a back stitch just to lock it in place so it doesn't creep into my zipper pouch. You can wear quilting gloves to give yourself better traction, but I gear up and I'm all ready. And then I start here and I put my hands down and I'm kind of doing that outward motion, and then I just go. Creep my hands along, keep pushing down, and I just keep going and going, and sometimes it gets a little crooked, sometimes it's perfect. Now I get to the end. Now instead of cutting my thread, I can just spin it around, make sure everybody's laying flat, and you want to try to get the same amount on the next side as you got on the first side. Let me get threads out of the way. White thread on blue. I could have changed it, but since there's white in this pouch also, I'm not going to worry about it too much. But if you're worried about crooked top stitching, have your thread match. And I've got a little oops there, not too bad. Now I'm still putting, I know it's controversy, some people don't like the tags on the outside, some people like them on the inside. I'm trying to find an Etsy shop that has the nice cloth fabric labels to put on the bottom of the pouch or something like that, or on the inside of the lining. But for right now, I'm just going to stick with this. And I want to put it on the outside only, so I just have to move that. And I like to put it on the zipper side. Let me add this in. And then switch my foot back to the regular one. If you look at zipper pouches at Walmart or Target, or some of the fancier ones, if you have a little bit more of an expensive zipper pouch, check out your bags and your clothing and stuff, and you'll see that they're not perfect. They're mass manufactured and stuff, and you can see a lot of mistakes. I learned to relax about making things after I saw that the stuff that I paid good money for at Walmart or wherever, I mean, like they're stuffed animals. They didn't do the ladder stitch to close it. They just did the overcast. So why am I worried about mine if people are willing to pay money at Walmart for it? Everyone's like, why should I buy your quilt when I can buy one at Walmart? So why should I worry too much? I want it to be nice, of course, but I don't want to stress out about it. So here's my zipper. I'm not trimming anything up yet, so I need to bring my zipper at least to the halfway point or a little bit more on the inside. I'm going to take my outer fabric and my outer fabric, and when you pick it up, it's going to go like that. Hi, Tracy. So I want to make sure they're like that. Now I line up the little bits right here, those folded edges that I top stitched down. I line them up and I stick a clip. And then I go to this side and I line it up, pop a clip. And I don't worry about them too much. I can just put a clip there. And then to my lining, I'll put one on each end here. Now with our lining, that's where I'm going to leave my opening. And it's also where I'm going to start stitching. So I'm going to leave about this much, just enough to get my hand in there. I can leave it quite a bit because I'm not boxing the corners. I'll back stitch, and then I'm just going to stitch all the way around. I like to back stitch on my zippers, and I have to look a little bit. For my sewing machine, it does better if, see right now, this is right here where the zipper teeth are, it's up higher. So if I were to come this way, I would like drop off a cliff. But if I come from this end, and I go up the mountain and then this part, because this is higher, because I fold it so that the teeth here, I fold it so that the teeth go to the lining part. You see how that goes? So I find it easier if I go up the mountain and then it levels off. Otherwise, you can use a Genema jig to make sure it's level, or you can press the little button on the side of your presser foot to level it out. But I find it easier just to go ahead and do this. Now I am going to reduce my stitch length. I drop it down to a 1.8 just to hold everything nice and secure. I'm going to do a 3/8 inch seam allowance, but I like to go more towards a 1/2 inch on the bottom of my bag so I don't have a puddle of fabric down there. I'm not measuring anywhere. I'm just going to say, oh, this is where I usually start. I'm used to doing it, so I'm just going to start there. And I like to sew right off my fabric. Then I come back and I come back onto my fabric. And when I cross the line, I just do a little back stitch just to make sure everyone stays secure. Sure, everyone, you can always take a clip, an extra one if you want, and line it up there. Make sure your edges are lined up, and I just go a little bit slower over my zipper. And when I get past the teeth, then I'll back stitch. Turn it around. Mess up the thread on the sewing machine, have to rethread it. Because sometimes it just does that. And double check to make sure there's no little thread stuck in there. This is what my machine does. It must be normal because it happens on my Juki also. Unless it has something to do with being a top down, I don't know. Zipper teeth lowering is a good tip. I wonder if that's where I'm going wrong. I'm going to show you something, Lynette. There's some other techniques that I've been looking at, but I'll show you the little thing I do to help my corners. And it's really simple, but you can't sew unless you actually put the thread through the needle. Just one of those things, people run out of bobbins. I don't have thread in the top of my machine. There are a lot of different tricks, and some people put the tabs on the end of them, but then you can't open the zipper pouch all the way. And I just don't like sewing the tabs. I'm a rebel that way. Now you can use a walking foot if you want, but I basically with the quilting cotton and stuff, I don't have any problems. I've never sewn with vinyl or cork, leather. And then here, instead of having the teeth laying right on top of each other, I just lay them down, so instead of being on top, I lay them next to each other. Just so that I'm not, again, going over a big giant hump with my sewing machine. Maybe your sewing machine doesn't like the thickness of the teeth or something like that. Go slow until you're past the teeth, and why not take a second and make it a little bit easier? instead of fighting with it, let it have what it wants. And then don't forget to leave an opening. That's it. All I have to do is turn it right side out. What do you do with all the fat quarters you don't like? Thinking of making strings, crumbs? You can do that. And you can do anything you want with fat quarters, really. You showed the vision aid glasses. I purchased them. And aren't they great, Janet? I love my glasses. Now, some people were like, you can't do that. But I was told that these Kai scissors can be sharpened. And they work really great. So I cut the zippers off. I cut my zippers even with my fabric. I tried going a little bit shorter, and actually it makes it harder to do the corners. So I trim this off, and yes, I will save them for something else. Trim a little off my tag. Trim this again. Now my corners, just like we do anytime we're turning something, I cut a diagonal on my corners, and I kind of round that off just a little bit on that corner. Now with my lining, I like to sew. So here is my 3/8, and here is a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. Maybe it's about 5/8. I like to taper it wide and then up to the 3/8. So I have this extra bit of fabric, and that allows me not to have that baggy bottoms and stuff in my lining. So I just trim that down. Nothing fancy to any certain number. Just trim it so it looks good. And I have the extra on the bottom. Now, I never trim this opening. I just trim the parts that are sewn. Just to get that extra bulk out of the bottom. And I clean up as I go. I never do this. I clean up as I go, so at the end of the day, I'm in good shape. Now, before, I'm using the iron, and I've got to warm it up all the time, the cordless one. I've also taken the fat quarters and just sewn them together, cut a big square out of them, sewn them together, and turn them into a big quilt that way. You can use them for tons of zipper pouches. You can create just about anything. I love fat quarters because you get a little bit of everything. I know baggy bottoms are the worst. So I'm just taking my lining here. So here's my opening, and I'm just folding it back. So here's my seam so that it lines up with that. I'll fold both of those. This makes it easier for me after I turn it to just top stitch and close up that opening. And then I set my seams just like we do in quilting. It's a little bit harder on the fusible fleece. I can go like this on the lining, but the fusible fleece is sticky. So I just make sure everyone is kind of looking good. Oh no, I forgot to open my zipper. What will I ever do? As long as your zipper's in here, I know I remembered to do it, but I just wanted to tell you. As long as your zipper's in here, you can do a little trick. Put your hands in here and any little bit of opening you have, and just kind of squish it around like this so you can grab the zipper down here. With this hand, you can grab that zipper and pull it. So here is mine, and I can just pull it and open my zipper up as much as I need. So if I didn't open it enough and I can't get my hand in here, I just take my 2 corners and just pull it out. I pop out, I put my thumb in the corner and my finger on the inside and just pop that out. And now when I go to sew this, look at this. I have that opening. Look how neat that is. All ready for me to just top stitch that closed. But before I do that, I want to put my thumb down in the corner on the outside and my pointer on the inside, and I'm just pinching it and popping it out. Now you don't want to push too hard because you don't want to pop your seam. Now I don't get sharp corners. All of mine have a nice little rounded corner, and I'm just going to say that's, you know, a design element. So here's the one side. Now here you go, Lynette. So here's this area here. I try to put my voice down because it gets loud when I'm over here. So here I have this. I'm going to just move my zipper down a little bit. I have the fingers on the inside. I'm going to do that pinching thing again. I have to just get my zipper in just the right spot. So I have room to put my thumb in, and I fold the zipper over like this with my finger, and I just push it up, and then I just keep pushing it gently until I have a less of a round thing. Because if you don't push it up, you're going to end up with these sunken little corners. So I just push it up just a bit, not too much. It helps when you have the shorter seam allowance. And then on this side, we'll just mess with this when we get done. So all I need now is to do a little top stitching about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge to close this up. I have a silver thread in, and that's going to be fine on this white on white. Otherwise, if I was using blue thread for all of this, for this pouch, normally I would switch it to blue. So if you see any of my stitching, you'll see blue, but it looks pretty good. Just in case. I have a couple other tricks, but yeah, I can't share everything today. I have to have some secrets still. You don't want stuff to fall into the bottom of your pouch, so I bring all my thread up to make it nice and neat. Back stitch the beginning and the end, and just stitch close to the edge so you don't get a big lump. You can pin it, of course. I have these really sharp little pointy scissors I use to make sure I trim it right up close to the edge so I don't have thread sticking out. Pop this back in, and I put the corners, put my finger into the corner, into the corner, corner into the corner. Now I keep thinking about those fat quarters. There's those patterns where you can lay them down, like you cut a 9.5 inch square, and then you chop it this way and you chop it that way, and then you reshuffle the layers so it's like purple here, blue there, and red there, and then you sew them together, and then you can chop them again and reshuffle the layers. I want to do one of those quilts. Bye, June. See you later. And then I just look at it and I'm like, okay, so this corner looks pretty good, right? That doesn't have, okay, this one's dropping down a little, so I'll just come back here. I'll go inside, hold down here. Just bring that zipper part up just a little bit. And then come through and give it a nice, good thing. I saw something. What did I see? I saw, Pat Sloan always has the greatest things because companies send them to her. I put it on my Amazon wish list. I need to pick it up soonish, but it's this, it's like a silicone iron. It's almost like, where's my wooden iron? It's almost like this. It has a little shovel end on it, but it's silicone. And what you can do is you can take it and put it down into here and hold those edges down so that when you hit it with the iron, you can just do this and press it. But right now I just do it with my hand. And there we go. So the only thing it needs now is a tassel or whatever. Stack and whack. Yes, that's it. So there you go. And it is now 1/4 of. So half an hour, including talking. And look at that. I have a zipper pouch. Yes, it did take a little bit longer so I could cut the fabric, but voila. And the mess is driving me crazy. Let me pick up the junk at least. So that's why I love to do a zipper pouch, especially if I have it ready. The fabric's already sitting there ready for me. I can sew this at the end of a day of all computer work. And even though I'm sewing, making videos, it's not sewing, it's not fun sewing, it's work sewing. Hi, Olive. Thank you, thank you. So there you go. I really like that. Now that's going to be going in the shop. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay. So now these. Now this is what I do with my scraps. When I sew my scraps together, when they're 1.5 inches, I use a scant 1/4 inch. I have to move my machine, my needle over to the 6.0 setting on this machine. I just move it over to 6.5. It just takes it over like 1/8 of an inch or so, just a little bit. You're welcome. Just go slow. You don't want to push it out too much, but you can always push it back in. And if you're doing it before you sew your bottom, worst case scenario, if you pop the stitches, you can just put it back underneath the sewing machine and sew it again. So it just gives me that little bit smaller of a seam allowance so that I'm not eating up all of my fabric. Now, 1.5 inches, it leaves me an inch fabric, so it works out pretty good. So I have 1 color, 2 color. Now these are different widths. And for a scrappy project like this, I'm not going to worry about it, except for these here are, what are these? Oh, these are, what did I say? These are 1 inch. They're so folded. Yeah, these are 1 inch, and then these are 1.5 inches. And it's not that big of a difference, but they look quite chunky besides that one. And this one is almost 2 inches. So I would probably save these for another project, or I can trim them down to match these. But if one of these is 1 inch and one of these is 3/4 of an inch, I'm not going to worry about it because it's still going to work out. Now I also had this gray in there that I could go ahead and use if I wanted to. I would probably, if I chose to use it, I would cut these down because these are 2 inches. So I could cut these in half and do like purple gray, brown gray, pink gray, whatever that color is, teal gray. So I think, and I have squares. Now the squares I'm going to hold off for another project. Maybe I'll take these and the squares and come up with something. But I don't know if I have enough because some of these are shorter. So let me see. 2, 3, 5 of those. 1, 2, 3. So I think maybe I'll skip the gray and I might decide to add it in a little bit because I don't have a lot of it. I can bring, hi Cordula, the Clova iron finger. Yes, exactly, Jackie. That is the neatest little tool. Because I'm always thinking, gee, I wish I could put my fingers in there when I'm ironing. I wish I had something I can poke in there because all I have is like plastic. I don't have something like that. And I thought, that's what I need. So I found it really quick just to put it on the I put some things on my Amazon wish list. If you guys want to get one, of course, thank you so much. Or just so I can find them later sometimes. And then, because I don't think you can buy it on Amazon. I have to get it somewhere else. I just have to find the right site to buy it from. But for these, I'm just going to lay these out. Okay, this one is double length. So let me see. I just put this. So this one is a little bit wider. So maybe I might not want that wider one. I have plenty to choose from. I can put that one there. And I don't care if the lengths are different because I can trim these up afterwards. And I want it to be, I have a little cheat sheet that I keep up on the wall. I have those cards that index cards. I have them up there with my different zipper pouch sizes. So I'm shooting for a 9.5 by 5.5. So I want it to be 9.5 wide. Or a bigger one would be 10.5 inch wide. So I just keep my little ruler. And I know they're not sewn together, so you can overlap them a little bit. But I might just go ahead and say, oh, well, maybe I want to have a wider one in the center or something like that. And then work my way. Or I can just keep going like this. Keep bringing them in. You can put these down onto, you do like quilt as you go onto a fusible product, your batting. You could put it down onto some type of interfacing or something. Oh, I never thought about that. Maybe one of the small spatulas, because that doesn't need to be wide. Do I still have it? I had a little silicone. I just had to check the temperatures to make sure. No, not the heat resistant fingertips. I want to be able to put like a spatula inside the zipper pouches and my tote bags and stuff to be able to get those seams nice and crisp. Purple, purple, purple. And like I said, I know this isn't, accurate, but I know if I go a little bit past, so I could stop here and then I could say, well, maybe I want to finish it off. So I don't want these to go into the seam. So maybe I want to cut down and put this here. So that should be nice. If I put the gray on each side, or I can bring in my black that I'm going to use as my accent on the bottom. I could bring this in and put this on each side, and then it would be like framing it. But I think we're gonna go, I kind of like this. So now when sewing, I'll hold these off. When sewing these together, I have to be careful. And I found what works for me. Now, it might not work for you. You might have to do something different. But I need to make sure that I sew mine in groups of 2. Oh, good. I'm in groups of 2. Sometimes I have one left over. I have to sew each group of 2 and be very patient and press each one. Then I can sew them into groups of 4, press each one. Because if I try to sew all these together and press them, I end up with seams that go like this because it's such a small bit that it doesn't work for me. Now, if it works for you, you know, sew them together however it works for you. 2.0 stitch length, 6.5. Or you can just, you know, not put it all the way to the edge of your presser foot. You know your machine, you know where your 1/4 inch is, just make it a little shy. Now let me put a piece of scrap fabric in first. This is a bag. It's not going to take the same wear and tear as a quilt. Plus, if you want, you can also go ahead and quilt it to secure the seam. Oh, yeah, Jackie, sometimes it's nice to have more than one of something, because if you're going to misplace, and okay, it's either have more of the same thing or find a place to keep it so it's not getting lost. And I'm pretty big on having like glasses in here that I drop them in my drinking glass. I have all my when you guys aren't here, I have all these little containers lined up here. Plus I have them all hanging from a curtain rod so that everything goes in its place and I don't lose it. If your scraps are a little wider, you can always purposefully sew them a little crooked. So if you want to have a little bit of a different look to it. Just try to line up one end so that the top or the bottom, usually the top for me, is always even, and it just makes it easier to keep them lined up and from getting, unless you want them to be crooked and slanted. I learned to embrace the wonky because everything I used to make in the beginning was wonky, and I just couldn't do it. Piece of scrap fabric. I saw a lot of people have this cutter now because it came in like one of the fat quarter boxes or something like that. So I see more variety of them in different sizes and different colors. I think they're great. The iron goes to sleep too quick. These are also great when I'm making for fabric notebook, for fabric postcards, and for the note cards. I like to take a sheet, I'm waiting for the iron to warm up. I like to take a sheet of lightweight fusible interfacing and I cut it out to whatever dimensions I want. And I lay these down and I can overlap them just a little bit. Each individual fabric, I lay them down like that. And then when I hit them, they stick to the interfacing, and then it becomes one more piece of homemade fabric that I can do whatever I want. Wonky does make it look handmade sometimes, yes. And then I can turn it into whatever I want, and I can cut it into my 4.5 by 6.5 for my postcards. You can add it onto a piece of batting and quilt it really well, like the matchstick quilting I do, and then turn it into something. So if you have these scraps that you're collecting, you just don't know what to do with them, but you can't throw them away, you can just create fabric. Set my seams. Let those cool for a second. Then I just start with the finger to just get it done. Quilts taught me. And then I just do this, and I'm not too worried with these if I get a little tuck of fabric or it's not perfect, because these aren't going to be perfect. They're so small. You can press them open if you'd like. Sometimes I do, but my patrons know that I prefer not to press open just because it's hard for me. Since I have my iron on this wool mat, it's already warm here, so it helps to do this. But you might need those rubber fingers, like Jody said, just to keep you from burning your fingers just on the mat, because I've done that before. I think I need to make a t-shirt that says embrace the wonky. Yes, embrace the wonky. Wonky done on purpose is okay. And if you take a mistake wonky and you carry it through and everything, if you have a nice something you make, let's say you're making a placemat and one square is wonky, it's going to look weird. But if they're all a little wonky, it looks like you did it on purpose and it's very artistic. So what did I do? I did this and then this, and this and then this, and this and then this. You can take a picture, of course. I have them laid out here to see. So now I can sew these two together and these two together. And then I can look, and maybe, you know, these will take up extra space on the ends if I need it to be longer, or I could throw another one on. Just because I started with purple, maybe I want to have purple on both ends and bookcase it. Again, lining up the top the best you can. We can trim it. With projects like this, a zipper pouch, it's like its own entity. It's a quilt all by itself, so you can do almost anything you want with it. And they say, I can save this quilt, I can quilt that out. Well, you can't quilt out a lot of things, but in a zipper pouch, it's such a small space, you can save a lot of oops just by quilting it. Throw an applique on top of it. For a zipper pouch, you can put somebody's initial on it. So if you have a really bad mistake, put someone's initial on it and say, here you go, or put a heart on it, and you saved it. Like, these might be a little bit too small for some people to work with. Now, if I were making an entire quilt out of this, I'd be like, oh, that's just crazy. But you could make small 4.5-inch blocks and just do it over time. You can make this your leader ender type project. I usually try to make it extra long and trim it down, or just make a long pouch. Sometimes I'm like, whatever this piece is, because if I only have 7 pieces of fabric to work with, this time I have an abundance. If I only have so many pieces, that's all it can be. I can't have any more. So my zipper pouch becomes whatever size it is. That's why I never cut my lining or anything ahead of time. I didn't bring a backing fabric though, so I might have to disappear for a second and just find a batik for a backing. I was thinking about, normally I'd put whatever's on the bottom on the back or make another piece. And now I can see, okay, what size is this? This looks like it's too small. I haven't even pulled out a zipper or anything yet because I don't know what this pouch is going to look like until I sew it. So that, I put that there, put that there. This is going to give me a pouch. Oh, it's going to be about, I think I'm going to put another purple on here just to bookcase it. And that's going to bulk it out just that little bit more, so that it becomes just a little bit wider, just so that when I'm doing, putting things in my Etsy shop, most of my pouches will be 9.5 inches. I send one to my daughter. She's starting to love machine sewing. For years, she made her girls' Halloween costumes by hand. Oh, Halloween costumes, just to sew them, I've heard, are scary enough. I think it's because the patterns are confusing. But to do them by hand, she did a really good job. That's super mom. I bet you she enjoyed it and her girls loved it too. Especially nowadays, costumes nowadays are just so plasticky and everyone has the same one. It's nice if mom makes you something special. A lot of people have made their own clappers, yes. Because clappers can be expensive. And now I'm going to add my two side pieces. Find my straightest edges and I'll put them on like that. I'll sew these on one after the other without ironing it because they're far enough apart and they're wide enough. I'm not going to worry about it. Now we've used up some of these scraps. Now normally these would have been all of them, but this is a lot of scraps. I don't normally have this many to work with. You see by the ones I showed on Whip It Wednesday and the ones that are in my shop and the ones I showed at the beginning of this video on the picture when you guys see the thumbnail, those were the only scraps to work with. That. Bring that guy over. When they're wider like this, I don't always put my, push it with my finger first. But look at that. See, those are nice and relatively straight. I used to get this big bend in there and stuff because if you go like this, or if you go like this, if you take this whole thing and press it like that, it pulls the fabric in the center, especially when they're this narrow, and it just stops it from working right. So now we move this, and I look at what I have. So let's see, I have, so it's about 9 inches, and it looks like I'm gonna get about 5. So if I want my zipper pouch to be 9.5 by 5.5, so this one's going to be a little bit taller. I just want to put a small accent on there. So I'm going to start with trimming the top. There it is. I'll line up with one of these seams here, with one of those, and I'll just cut a straight line just to straighten it out the top just a little bit. I usually keep a trash can right there, so I go like this. Some of the live streams I find there's a whole bunch on the floor that I have to clean up. Now I'm just going to take my ruler and I'm going to find the shortest piece, which is this purple one here. So I'll put my edge of the ruler there, I'll line it up along the edge, and where's that going to be? Oh, so this one's going to be a 4 3/4. Now I can make it a little bit shorter if I want, depending on how tall I want it. Now all of these, I will throw those away, even those gray bits. So as I said, I usually make mine 5.5, but I can also make one that is 8 inches high if I want, or maybe I want to box the bottom of it. So right now, I'm thinking I'll probably maybe I'll just put 1.5 inches on it, and that'll bring it up to a 6.5 inch pouch. Maybe we'll box the bottoms in this one. So maybe I'll go up to 7 and we'll do a box bottom one. So then I have to bring in this fabric. I like to try to bring in other scraps if I have them, but ooh, even the back of that, ooh. I like the back of this better. I'm going to give this a little press, and I'm going to use the back of this fabric. I like the way that looks. So what did I decide? I decided that I need to cut one that is, oh, that's 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 by, I'm just gonna cut it 9.5 inches just because it's easier. And before I cut it, I'll just see, okay, that's that. Let me just double check to make sure. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal since I'm just making it up as I go. And I'm going to go a little bit more because this isn't even on the bottom. So I'll just go ahead and cut it at 2 inches. And I can even it up afterwards. Let me sew this on. Come on, chair. Come with mama. So it's a little bit long, so I'll go past one end and I'll go past the other instead of trying to line it all up. Nope, this way, Robin, there you go. So used to right sides together, I actually did it the right way for once, and I don't want it that way. My seam allowance is always, there's a ridge here where the bobbin drops in. I'll press this open where you can't see me. Mailman's here. It's such a distinctive sound. I don't know if you guys, whoever gets mail at your house, if it's a very distinctive sound to me. So now that I'm looking at the back of this, I think I don't mind having this as the back of this one. So here's what it looks like. And I can trim off that piece. And that piece. So there's that. So I know that that's 8 3/4 by 6 1/4. So I can play, oh, I've got to figure out measurements. What's that? I don't know what it is. It's a weird number. There's 8s and quarters. Or make sure there's no fabric underneath. I can just put this down like this, and I can just carefully cut out the first round here. Make sure I'm not cutting my zipper pouch. So there's that. You can put a piece on the top if you want to highlight where the zipper is. So there, I have the front and the back of my zipper pouch. You can have another piece of gray up there or something or whatever you want. So now I need to clean up all of this because it's in my way. I put it in a little basket so I can put it away neatly later on and grab a drink. I'm still drinking my holiday Christmas ginger ale. I like to save it for live streams and pizza night. So I keep my fusible fleece and my batting in containers like this. Now I know I only have little pieces. I don't Franken piece my fusible fleece like I would for my batting. I haven't done it yet. I'm not sure how well that works just because I haven't tried it. So that means I need to, when I bought fusible fleece, I think I got it online at Joann's. It came in this little half bolt. It was really neat. I like it. Okay. Just like fabric and stuff, it's never lined up. I like to line it up, and I don't like to cut through onto this cutting board. So I bring out my old one, line it up. Now you can go a 1/4 inch smaller if you want. I don't have any problem. This fusible fleece is very thin and I want a piece for the front and the back. I usually just overlap it slightly, 1/8 of an inch or so. So it just makes sure that it's all going to be okay. I also don't use my good rotary cutter. I have a fusible fleece interfacing batting rotary cutter. And then all of those fuzzies stick in there. And I've noticed with the fusible fleece, for a while there, I kept having this sand on my cutting and my sewing table here. And I couldn't figure out where all this gritty sand kept coming from. It's all the little glue dots from the fusible fleece that got onto my table. Now this piece here, I'll cut this off because that's not going to do me any good for anything. It's just probably a coin pouch out of that one. And I'll put it in my container. And it's right there in the sewing room for me and I don't have to worry about it. I can easily find it. Now you can put batting, you can use foam, you can use whatever works for you. So now I also need 2 pieces of lining. This is that same white on white. And I use the backing because if I accidentally cut it, I can cut another piece. But if I accidentally cut my patchwork here, I'd start all over or make it smaller. So this way I can do math. I can do math and I can follow a ruler and do all of that. But why bother? When I can just do this, just barely go to the edge and then I push down so it cuts that corner. And I don't get that weird little slice into it that way. Sometimes you just have to cut a little bit more. A couple threads. Then I spin it around. Now you can put some lightweight interfacing. I just don't do that for my lining. I do it in my tote bags because I want something that's a little bit more structural. But for these zipper pouches, I don't think they need anything. At least in my opinion, I don't think they do. So there is that. And this can go back on the shelf. So now, hold on, there's fabric corners on the floor. It's driving me crazy. Now I just need to adhere my fusible fleece to the front and back of my zipper pouch. And for that, you know, it's nice if you have an old pressing board like this. This isn't going to get onto my wool mat. It's a higher chance of it getting onto my iron, so I could put a pressing cloth on top. But if I cut it just a little bit smaller, and it actually is smaller, this is glue side up. Fusible fleece works better if you put it down and you press from the cotton side, from the fabric side, because it doesn't do well the other way. It's actually in the directions last time I looked. Why calculate when you have an easy way to do things? Exactly. Why, if I want to relax, if I'm doing something and I need it to be very particular, I'll pay attention and I'll do measurements and all that. But if it's at the end of the day and I just want to relax, I don't know if you're supposed to use steam, but I steam everything. And I'm pushing down relatively firmly. Start in the center and work my way out. I've really become hooked on the fusible fleece for small projects, for mini quilts, smug rugs, and things like that. It's just so quick and easy. You can always put a second piece on your backing if you want to bulk it out a little bit and make it a little thicker. And then I found if I take my clapper and I firmly press and glide and then press, that it just stays adhered more. Fusible fleece is well known for becoming wrinkled when you turn things right side out. Now this being upholstery fabric, you don't see it, but it tends to get crinkled and wrinkled. And once they crinkle and wrinkle, you can't get it out. And I don't know why, it's my imagination or if it's real. I find this just helps it adhere to it, which, I mean, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. Boy, when I live with my kids, if they come, they're not gonna be allowed in my sewing room. You can come visit, but don't touch anything. If I find out they touch my scissors or rearrange anything, oh, hell's to be paid. They actually stopped by the other day, Robbie and Miranda, because Robbie needed peroxide. Okay, you can go to the store and get peroxide, but he needed ingrown toenail advice from Mom, which ended up being peroxide to clean it out and gauze and all of that stuff. I'm like, that's what they need Mom for. They need Mom for her medicine cabinet and for her advice. Poor Miranda, she thought I had all of these fancy recipes that I created for myself. She's like, Mom, where did you get your bread recipe or something? I'm like, well, I Googled it. Mom, where'd you get your beef stew recipe? Well, I just kind of opened up the fridge and put in whatever I wanted and whatever I had on hand. She's like, you can't do that. You have to follow a recipe. I'm like, no, you don't. I don't follow a recipe when I'm quilting. I'm not going to follow a recipe when I'm cooking. So I need a zipper now. So then I bring down my zippers. I try to keep a variety of zippers on hand because antibiotic cream, yes. I told him to put Neosporin in it. I said, our family is really bad with ingrown toenails. Sometimes they grow out and your toes are great, and sometimes you just get one. I said, as soon as you remove one, put Neosporin in a Band-Aid, roll the gauze up so it keeps the skin from the side of your toenail spread open, so it allows everything to heal and it keeps it from being infected. So, I'm just like this amazing person because you learn things as you, how do you learn these things, Mom? I said, well, I'm gonna be 54 next month. I just kind of know things. So then I pull out my zippers and I'm like, okay, I need my zipper to be longer than here. So I go into my longer than here pouch. So I usually buy my zippers. I sew a lot of zipper pouches. So I like my zippers to be 12 inches or longer. These happen to be 14. So I can pull it through and I can say, oh, look, maybe I want to have this. Oh, that doesn't look too bad. Or I found this color the other day in here. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. I just want to use that color. But I mean, I obviously know that like that one's not going to work. I could put a black one on and accentuate all of the black. I'm going to leave that one out for a second. And I don't have the right purple because purple, this is a blue purple and I don't want, that doesn't match that purple. So here's a different shade of purple. That's not too bad. And then don't laugh, but then I go into this container and these are my shorter ones. So these are like 9 inches, so they're too short. Now I buy them by the rainbow and I buy what, I'm out of black, so I have white. And I don't think white is a good choice for that, but I do have some gray. And look, this one's super long and it's okay. I don't mind if it works. Oh, look, I have this one. And there is our winner. So when I lay that down there, that one makes me go, oh, I kind of like that one. I'm going to go with that one. And yes, I talk to myself in silly voices because at the end of the day, I get kind of tired and I get kind of silly. And that's what I do. I have to stop a second and take my medicine so I don't forget and make myself miserable. Hi, Anna. Welcome, welcome. Excuse me. So there's that. I think that one works pretty well. I don't have a black one, but I have one for like a jacket. So you can see how the black, I think that's too much black with that there. And I said the gray wasn't too bad. I think it's good to have gray, black, and white zippers. If that's all you can get, then just get those colors, and you can usually find something to go with it. But you know, white is just too bright for those. But I like that purple one. So then I put all of these away, because if I don't pick up as I go along, I will have a huge mess. And very secretive, not secretive, I hide my mess. So this room, my sewing room, is nice and clean. Just don't go into the fabric room, because that's where the mess is. So now I have all of my pieces. I'm going to start all over like I did with the last one. Right sides down. Now you can put it over this way or over this way if you don't want to have a bunch of the tape, or if you want more of the tape. We have another little cold snap coming through. It's going to rain. This house is weird. I can hear the traffic. If people are walking by on the street, I can hear them really well in the house, and it sounds like they're right outside my window. Yeah, nice neutral colors. It's good to have your neutral colors to just make sure you have something. I love to be able to use the colorful zippers, but in a pinch, it's nice to have, so maybe I don't have like a brown that I need. So then I always know I have those neutral colors, and then I can use those. Here's my lining. You can have a nice fun lining, but I make so many zipper pouches, it's just nice to have a white on hand. Whites, grays, because it's nice to be able to have a light color inside so that you can see what you're looking for. Zipper pouches are small. You're not digging into it like you would a purse or tote bag, so you can get away with anything. Now I'm looking at this and I can see it's crooked, so I'm just going to readjust, figure out where I went wrong, start over. Because if I start with it crooked, it's going to be crooked all the way through. Or it could just be that my outside's crooked. It happens. Just make sure your zipper is all the way up at the top, because it's kind of a waste if you don't catch the zipper in when you're sewing. So now I have to switch back over to my zipper foot, squeak my chair. Zipper foot, zipper foot. Oh, there it is. I keep my wooden pineapple with all of the zipper feet and stuff that I use all the time, so I don't have to go searching for it. For jewelry, I've been saving mine. I have a full container. I've got to figure out exactly what to do. All I've ever seen is like flowered brooches and stuff with it. I have to figure out something. Zipper pouches, Heather, are like a great gift. Once you learn how to make a zipper pouch, if you get past, see, when you're using the longer zipper, I don't think that this is scary. When you're trying to sew it and the zipper head's in the way and you've got to lift up the foot and turn this around and get it to go, that's the way I started doing it, because there's like, if you're making a 9-inch pouch, you have to have a 9-inch zipper, and I messed up all the time and it was scary and I couldn't figure it out. But when I learned the trick of having a longer zipper, unzip it, buying 25 9-inch zippers, 14-inch zippers, and 18-inch zippers, most of the time it's the same price. So why not buy longer ones and some shorter for smaller projects so you're not wasting an 18-inch zipper? But I buy it longer and I can make any pouch from here to here. This one's sold as a 14-inch zipper. From the stop to the stop, it's 14 inches. And we're only making an 8 3/4 inch pouch. But it gives me plenty of room to easily do the zipper. People can use... Talking, and you forgot to put your machine back to where it belongs. Okay. People can use a zipper pouch. I just checking my needle for a burr, so hopefully it's okay. I'm due for a new needle soon anyway, so it wouldn't be a crisis. People use zipper pouches for anything. Male, female, kids, adults, older people. We all have uses for them. We can use them for just about any kind of thing. Bracelets. Interesting. That's if you have like one long piece, or do you like sew them together or something? I'm thinking about putting up, like if you take the bracelet, maybe have it as an accent or something. I don't know. I haven't fully decided. I saw them years ago, someone doing something creative with them on a blog, and I just haven't had a chance to go look. If I have it, the little stopper too close, my foot of the sewing machine always gets stuck on it. There we go. Gotta come up with something creative and artsy. My lining is creeping. If my lining creeps up a little, I'm not too worried because I'm going to make that shorter anyway. The pouches are very, very forgiving. Once you get your rhythm and you figure out how they go together and how each thing is, I find them very forgiving. Hi, S'moresies. I know it's dinner time, right? It's the end of the day. Mama's not supposed to be working anymore, huh? I'm not going out there, sweetie. Poor S'moresies thought I was going to follow her. You can make a knot with two, but you need only the teeth. We'll have to try something. Okay, this side up. I have a little container full of them. I've got to figure out something soon because the container's full. And my rule is when the container's full, you have to do something with it. So I just fold that down so it all stays here. I'm more concerned with the top here than I am with the bottom, just making sure the zipper lays flat. And I can see, like, it's not perfect. There is a little extra room than there, but it's not a huge amount, and it's not enough for me to say, ooh, that's bad. A bad zipper pouch, if you can't give it as a gift, you can still use it for yourself. Put your nail polish in it, put your makeup in it, put your cords to your phone or something like that. You can use it around the house, even if you think it's ugly and it doesn't work right. Or if you have, when I first started sewing them, I would have like a hole here where the zipper is at the edge. So like right here, there'd be a hole, so like a knitting needle or some money and stuff could come out. I'm like, that's not gonna work. So I just used them around the house for whatever. I let Robbie play with them when he was young. Check on Pinterest. Yeah, I'll have to check on Pinterest. I've started going to Pinterest a little more often now. I stayed away for a while. All right, so I have that one side. So now I'm gonna do right sides together. So remember, your fabric has two sides. I'm going to put this side up because that side doesn't look even for some reason. Your fabric has two sides. If one side works for you better than the other, then go ahead and use it. Who says you can't, right? Now, if you're doing a quilt and you have a whole bunch of fabric and one of the main fabrics, like the center point of a 9 patch, is flip the back side, well then you're probably going to notice it. But if you do it with a scrap project, nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to know. How will they know? Then right sides together, lining it up at the top. Again, you can sew. I do this sometimes. Sometimes I get in a rhythm and I forget to put the lining on, and I sew the outer fabric to the zipper, and then I go, dang. Then you can sew this part and then add this part on. So you're not having to go through all of those layers and keeping them together. So as a beginner, I started doing that. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Because when I started doing things, it really wasn't like YouTube. You had to follow pictures on a blog and read a book. No rules. I find this very freeing. The basics of sewing a zipper pouch. You have the basics. You have to sew it a certain way, right? But what you do to this fabric, you can do whatever you want. Now, maybe you make this and I'm like, oh, you know what? I didn't quilt it because I used the fusible fleece and I didn't have to. It's a small project. I'm sorry I skipped over that part. But you could add some quilting down here. You can do something in here. You can quilt all along this before you put it together. You can just leave it like this. A fusible fleece allows me not to quilt it, which is why I use it a lot for zipper pouches. If they don't sew, they won't know. If they're used to what they find at Walmart, and yours is a step above Walmart or even just equal to it, who cares? If you pick their favorite fabric, or if I was talking to, where was I? I was in some type of medical facility. I don't remember who I was talking to. Maybe I was doing blood work or something. Oh, I was at the dentist, and the nurse lady was short. She had to hem her pants, her scrubs, and she had to hem them like a good 6 or 8 inches at the doctor's office. That's where I was. I know it doesn't matter, but I just couldn't figure out. And I said, well, I do a YouTube video where I show you how you can take that. So if you bought your daughter or granddaughter these really fun pants and you had to hem them, or they got hem and you had to take that much off, and then you turned it into a zipper pouch, or you made them with Winnie the Pooh fabric or Blue's Clues or whatever, and they're all excited. They're seeing the fabric. They're not seeing if you made a little bit of a mistake. They're gonna love you, and they're gonna love that bag because, you know, like my mom or my grandmother made this. And it was made from my old shirt when I was a baby, or my Girl Scout or Boy Scout uniform, or my favorite fabric, my favorite color. That's all they're going to care about. They're not going to see if your zipper's a little crooked. You know, Sue, if we were local, you'd already been making zipper pouches because I would have forced you to do it. Okay, S'moresy's won. She's sitting on the chair waiting for food. Being a good girl. Are you being a good girl? Are you hungry? Do you want a little snack to get you through until dinner time? Would you like that? Oh, yeah. She would like that, Mama, a lot. Okay. And I know your first couple of zipper pouches, you might be like, oh wow, look, I got really lucky and this one's perfect, and the next 3 are messed up. I still mess mine up all the time. It's just knowing how to fix them, or to cut it off and start all over again, or whatever you have to do, you know. Quick over the zipper, not too long on it so it doesn't melt. Make sure these are pulled all the way far away from that center of the zipper. Again, pin. Sometimes if I'm doing that trick where I have the fabric and then I have batting and I put another piece of fabric on the back, fabric and fabric don't stick. So I will just take these and I might just put a clip here and here, and then I'll put a clip here because it's going to hold that lining in place. And you can do that on both sides. My cats are in bed. I put them in earlier. Oh, they sleep in the bathroom. My cats, they sleep wherever. That's it. S'moresy's just wanted like 5 pieces of kibble, and that's it. It'll hold her off. It takes the edge off until I feed him at dinner time. She's such a little thing. She doesn't take her much to get full anyway. All 3 cats sleep in my bedroom for a while. They like to put me to bed, and then after I fall asleep, they go out to the living room. Sometimes they just like to look out the window, see what's going on. Sometimes they sleep. But they know when 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning comes around, and if Mama hasn't woken up, they're right there waking me up. Then I'm just going to top stitch again. A lot of people skip these. I've seen, I don't know who I was watching, but she makes like hundreds of bags, and she doesn't top stitch. She says her bags are perfectly fine. There's not a problem. The lining doesn't get in the way, so she doesn't do it. But I like that. I like that extra bit of stitching on there. And just in case, I've had a lining get stuck in a zipper on a commercial bag, and it drove me crazy. Fast or slow, just as long as you're steady. I'm going to put this gray right on the black, and it's not a big deal, but I probably normally would. Yeah, I think I would probably switch my thread colors, but I have the lining, the white as the lining, and I don't like to have a dark color on there, so I'm just going to stick with this anyway. And I cut my thread, but I can start all over, it doesn't matter. Just make sure everything is smooth. You can do a decorative stitch here, and then you wouldn't have to worry if your line was perfectly straight. I used to have the hardest time getting that top stitching straight, so I just used the fancy stitch. Nobody notices that. Fancy stitches, you don't know, they don't line up straight all the time, so you can have them any way you want. I trim my threads now, even if they're on the edge of the zipper, just because sometimes they end up in the pouch and I have to pick them out later, and that annoys me. And I know the threads bother some of you guys when you're watching videos, so I just trim them off. Now, if I forget to open my zipper and I sew this up, as long as you haven't cut this off, you can still unpick it and move your slide over, or you can do like they do with zipper tape and try to feed the head back on, but it's not fun. It's not fun. 9 p.m. it's a ritual. My girls know, they know I do the same thing all the time. I'm very habit person. I laugh all the time. Here's another little personal thing, but my cats don't understand when I'm in the bathroom what I'm doing, right? I keep my toilet paper in the cabinet next door because my bathroom's just never had a roller, and with the cats I don't bother. So they know when I open up that cabinet door that I'm going to leave the bathroom really soon. Otherwise I could be, let's face it, I could be in there on my phone on Pinterest looking at things. So it's so funny, they know my habits, they know my routines, they know what each thing I do means, and they act accordingly. I don't know what they're gonna do. My daughter has 3 cats. So when we live together, we're gonna have 5 cats that have never spent time with each other under the same roof. That should prove to be very interesting. Little S'morezies is the boss. She's a bully. She yells at everyone. Even the big girl who's the queen and the actual boss of the house. I let my tags hang over a little bit so they don't stick out too much. I know some people say they don't like them on the outside, but I personally don't like them on the lining either. I put them on the lining on a tote bag, but for the zipper pouches, I just haven't gotten used to it. I don't really care for it that much. Top stitching was an issue for me as well, sometimes, especially depending on the type of fabric. I've learned even since recently that if my fabric is thicker, like maybe I have batting and I've quilted it, after I've gone and I've pressed everything, I take my clapper and I just push down on this edge here before I top stitch, and it helps flatten down what's called a stitch and flip seam there. It helps flatten it out a little bit. Or I move down a little bit past it, so I'm just past that extra bit of fold there, like a seam, and there's not as much to stitch through. Because that's usually what my problem is too big of a lump to stitch through. But by using the clapper, it helps. Now remember your zipper, and you do this. Now you can use an old quilt block. You can make a 6.5 inch square pouch, or take a 6.5 inch square and just put some sides to it. You can use your crumb blocks and piece that up. You can use the string blocks. You can use anything to build out a zipper pouch, or turn it into a drawstring pouch, make it larger. But I find these work out really well for those little itty bitty strips. Sometimes the zipper pouches sell, and sometimes they sit in the shop for a year or two, and then all of a sudden when I'm thinking I'm going to pull it from the shop, it sells. So you just never know. It's just when that right person comes along to buy it because it's all about fabric choices and what someone may or may not like. I really like a decent amount of clips just to hold everything. Now I know I should be in a habit and figure out exactly how I need to do this, but I always have to stop and look because I never remember. Okay, all my numbers right. Again, I'm going to make a deeper seam allowance on the bottom, and really I just I know where it needs to be for me on all of my pouches from the end. I usually put my thumb on the end and then I just kind of put it close to there. It's just, you're eyeballing. It really doesn't matter where you do it as long as you're away from the corner because it makes it hard to turn that way. And you stop. It doesn't have to be centered is what I'm saying. Oh no, Donna, that just drives me crazy when that happens. You should be able to watch the replay, hopefully. Time to head back to work. Bye, Davia. Enjoy your work. I hope it goes quickly and you're done soon. I have to remember when I flip it to make sure I bring my needle up so that I'm not pulling on the tension of the sewing machine and causing any issues. And lift up the presser foot because that releases all of the tension and the tension discs and stuff, and it makes it easier so I don't do that weird thing I did with the thread before. Some people cut their pouches, I want to say it's like a trapezoid. They cut it like almost like a pyramid with the top cut off. And that helps them to have a nice, some people when they make their pouches, oh yeah, we were going to make box corners. Oh well, I don't think I'm going to do that now. Some people have a hard time, like theirs come at an angle right here and they have this weird thing like that. I don't know what they're doing or what I'm doing, but mine generally all come out nice and straight. Pure luck, probably. Again, I kind of cross my teeth so they're not laying on top of each other. And when I get past the teeth, just sewing through the tape of the zipper is no big deal. So that's where I do my back stitching. Lift up the needle, lift up the foot, and then you can pull on it. I don't think this one is too tall that I need to box the corners and make it shorter. I do need to purposefully start making some. Bye, Giovanna. See you later. Bye, Heather. We're almost done. I'm just going to finish this up. We've already made it this long. I may as well finish it, right? We'll be live again next month on February 3rd. My birthday's the 7th, so we may as well have it as a birthday live stream on the 3rd because that's the first Friday of the month. So February 3rd and 17th. I'll let you know when we get closer what we're going to do. I think I have an idea. Back stitch. Just go slow. There's no need to hurry over those intersections. That's like one of the main problems. The hard part. Now mine aren't going to be perfectly even down here, but that's all right. I'm going to trim off that edge anyway, and it's going to be on the lining. I can tell you, if you buy a pouch on Etsy, some of my pouches are perfect, some of them aren't. Other shops that you buy from, some of theirs are perfect, some of them aren't. But in the end, it's all great. Hi, Barbara. Oh, you're not leaving yet? Oh, you're just saying goodbye to everyone else. Okay, sorry. We've been here for a while, so I thought everyone was just kind of leaving me. Thank you guys all for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Oh, there it is, 71 watching. I know next month I need to possibly find a link. But I know next month I want to work on one of these projects. The cardboard ones that was gifted to me that you creative with cardboard. There's got to be a link that I can find so you can buy them online. But I want to make sure like we do it at the end of February so that you guys have enough time if you want to order them. I'm going to leave this out so I remember to look for a link, and if I find one, I'll talk to you about it on Whip It Wednesday. So if anyone wants to make something similar, I have a feeling you can find something at Hobby Lobby because they have everything like that. And no, I still haven't made it there yet. If it was at this side of town, I'd be there all the time, but it's by the Midpoint Bridge, so it's in the middle of town, on the busy, crazy road that goes 45 miles an hour that everyone does 70 on. There's always traffic and accidents, and you have to watch out for a bus and people going across the bridge to work. I just haven't found a reason to want to go there bad enough. This is YouTube, Barbara. Patreon is a link down below in the description box. That's a totally different set of videos. I don't go live on Patreon. My patrons all watch it at different times. They're not really interested in going live there. For those of you that aren't patrons, in the beginning, when you went to Patreon, you would watch the video, you'd click on it, and it would bring you to YouTube. Patreon has allowed me to pay a little bit extra now, and all of my Patreon videos are on Patreon. So when you click the play button, you stay right there. There's no extra windows popping up. You don't get sent anywhere else. You can watch it directly on Patreon. So far, that's been going pretty good. I haven't heard any complaints about it. I know none of the people that I support on Patreon are doing it. But I like not having to jump over to YouTube all the time. I find it very helpful. I mean, I don't mind, so it's not like it bothers me, but it's nice not to have to leave the site and go to another place. All right, so trim these up a little bit. Whoops. And then afterwards, I'll show you the inside of the pouch so you can see the lining and how it's not so loosey-goosey by just taking a little bit of a wider seam. Now, when you take a little wider seam, what's important here is these sections right here, you need to be, if you're 3/8 on the outside, loud traffic, you need to be 3/8 on your lining, otherwise this part won't work. But if you look, you see how mine is not all loosey-goosey? It sits in there nice and tight. The fusible fleece also holds it like felt and everything like that, or like when you put them on your design board, so it holds it in nicely. But there's not a lot of extra in there. You don't have it all poofy. It's not all weird looking. So you get that by making it a little bit smaller on the lining. Trying to finish up my quilt from all... Oh, Barbara, I wonder if you're not caught up with us. If you joined us later, you might be listening to me talking about Patreon earlier on. So when you get to this point, you'll get caught up on it. We discussed Patreon earlier to just get a little idea because someone had a Patreon question. Sue, could you just let her know we talked about Patreon earlier and we were just answering some questions and this is actually all YouTube? Barbara, I signed up and pay for your Patreon to get notified, but not to watch. Barbara, are you the one I was talking to before that you're not able to watch the videos on Patreon? I was talking to someone in an email, but I never heard back from that person, so I thought they had it all straightened out. Barbara, if you want to email me at the RsIslandCrafts@gmail.com in the description box, we can try to figure it out so you can watch the Patreon videos. And I can verify that you're, yeah, because I told someone how Patreon can be confusing. Wait, I don't want to talk about it when I'm all the way over here. Patreon can be confusing because you have, you know when you go to sites and they're like, you can sign up through Google or email or Facebook. If you sign up for Patreon using, let's say, Facebook, When you come back, you have to sign in using Facebook. If you try to sign in using your email address, it'll want you to start a new account. You won't be able to watch my videos because you're not a Patreon member. So however you started your Patreon account, you need to make sure you sign in that way. And I know this because I struggled with the same situation in the past. I like, where did my Patreon community go? I lost all my videos. What happened to my channel? No, it's because, you know, I got confused trying to sign in. Thanks, Sue. Oh, no, she must be up to speed because she's hearing me now. We're good, but thank you, Sue. I wasn't sure. So I'm just opening up the zipper. And I like the whole grabbing it. Now we'll see on this one too whether or not we get wrinkles from the fusible fleece. Again, mine's from Joann's. There is a thin version and a thick version. And I found that on where was it? Amazon. You can buy a generic one, but it's it almost feels like the, hold on, the thermo stuff that you use for pot holders that has that metal in it, it almost has that feel to it. So I stopped buying the generic. I didn't quite like it. I liked how firm it was, but I didn't like how it was weird. So pop these out and be careful. See, okay, let me see if I can get in close. If I push too hard, you see how you can see my light gray stitches right there, and it's not that big of a deal. But if I'd used black thread, you wouldn't be able to notice them. So I just make sure that I don't pop it all the way out. I just kind of make sure I'm not forcing my seam because I don't want to pop the seam. Okay, Barbara, no problem. We'll get you figured out because it's not fair if you're supporting me like that and not able to watch the videos. And just do the thing where I fold the zipper over a little bit with my finger and just kind of pop it up. You don't want to push it too hard because you will pop that seam. Doing it this way, you're not going to have, there's tricks so you don't have these indents at all. But this version, you're going to have the little indents. And again, if you look at the fancy purse makers and you look at the Walmart bags that you've been buying all this time with no problem, you're going to see that they aren't perfectly straight either. They dip down a little. I'm just going to step over here and press this really quick. What we are worried about for our own imperfections, I say this because after I went and saw these things, I felt better because, now I just need the top stitch to close that. Because I was so worried about my ugly bag that I can't give away as a gift and I can't sell because it's ugly and horrible. My bag looked better than Walmart. So what am I worried about? If people are buying even some of the fancier ones, I haven't seen a Coach bag, so I don't know. I've only seen like generic versions and stuff that they're not like Coach. Not that the knockoffs, but the generic versions. So I don't know what a really fancy bag looks like, but I bet you if you look at it, you'll probably find some issues here and there on some of them. They're even, because I don't think those are machine made. They're made by a person sitting at a machine. So they make mistakes, especially if they have a quota and they have to make so many, whether it's a sweatshop or just a factory. Again, I stay close to the edge, but if you can't be, you know, 1/8 of an inch away, then go 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to show you what you can use as a little trick if you're struggling with a couple parts. Just let me trim this off. Trim this off. Push my corners in. You get less bulk if you put the corners of your lining into the corners of your outer bag. Since it hasn't been too long, we'll actually put some tassels on. Yeah, we worry too much. And then I lay it flat. What is that? Oh, thread. I lay it flat and I just put my hand in here and I just hold it and I run my fingers along the bottom seam just to make sure everybody's laying nice and flat. And look, I don't have It's kind of hard to tell, but I don't have those weird hard crinkles and stuff. I think sometimes the bag makers, maybe they're putting some interfacing down and then the fusible fleece, but I know just like this, I don't have any problem. I just make sure everyone lays down. And that black is fine on the back. It's not too big, and it still has the ability to fold and crinkle. You can put several of these into your tote bag. Maybe you want to put some gummy snacks in it, and maybe you have some hand sanitizer and you're taking the kids to the park or whatever. So now, put my scissors away. Let's put some tassels on these. Turn the iron off. Now these are picture savers from Michaels, and you can buy them in other places. I just get mine at Michaels. These are like $40, but if you watch, Michaels put them on sale for like $14.99. So there's no sense spending the big bucks for it. But it has these containers in here. They're like 4x6, and you're supposed to put your pictures in here, and then you can save them, or when you're ready for scrapbooking, you can pull them out. Well, I keep all of my different tools in here. So I have my pliers, and then I have my tassels. And with my tassels, I do the same thing as I do with my zipper. I pull them out, and I'm like, okay, so this is kind of the purpley teal. So I have that plummy color zipper. Maybe I want to go with the same. And I can lay one down and say, ooh, no, I don't like that. Maybe I go with that. Well, possibly. Oh, that's one I like. I like that one because it kind of goes with everything. So I'll put that one there. And then this guy, he has to be blue. So I separate them by colors, browns and blacks. There's my greens, my purples, and my pinks. And I buy these on Amazon. I just kind of search for tassels. And there's always somebody that has like 100 of them, and they're selling them at a decent price. So I very seldom buy them from the same place twice. And then I have a variety of blues. So I pull out my blues, and I look and I see, well, which blue looks good? Well, maybe I don't want a blue. Maybe because of all the black, I want to put a black. And you don't get very many blacks, but I don't use them very often. So maybe I'll want to make, I don't think I like the black on that one. I'll go back to my blues. And I have a gray zipper. Sometimes I match my zipper versus, that's just wrong. I think it's that blue. Yep, that'll be a blue. And then if I want, I can put a little charm on it or something. But for today, I'll just put these on. I find Amazon to be a great place to buy things. Some people in the bag making communities on Facebook, they go to Wawak. It's like Wawa, the gas station, W-A-W-A-K, and they buy things in bulk. But I find it's cheap on Amazon, and I don't pay shipping because I'm a Prime member, and I get it within, a day or two. So I bought jump rings. You can get any size you want, but that's what I got. These are 6mm by 0.8. A lot of times when I'm buying something for the first time, and these are actually silver, when I'm buying something for the first time, I will buy a multi-pack that comes with a variety of sizes, whether I go up and I buy it from Michaels or I buy it from Amazon, and that way I can see the sizes. Thank you so much. That way I can see the sizes and hold them in my hand and compare them, because most times everything is measured in millimeters. So I have to figure out, okay, Google, translate millimeters for me. And then I can look and they're like, okay, this is 1 inch. So I can look at my cutting mat and I can put my bag there and say, oh, okay, 1 inch would be good. Let me get those. Because usually things are so inexpensive, and even if I don't use it for this project, there's going to be a project down the road that I'm going to need it for. Now, the jump rings, make sure you don't pull them open this way, that you go front to back, not left to right. You can buy all the parts and make your own, but it's quicker, and it's less expensive to buy like this because I go through, and you've seen all the projects I make. I make a lot of zipper bags I need to buy in bulk. And then go past and bring it back. There's a lot of YouTube videos, blogs, there is Facebook. I don't do a lot of Facebook, but I have a couple of groups that I check on every few days, and there's always a new bag pattern, or AliExpress. Yeah, that was the other one, AliExpress. I bought a new pattern. I've been looking for a crossbody bag, and I finally found one. It's the Serendipity something crossbody bag. I just purchased it this morning before I left the house. I can't wait to start making them. That's what's going to get me going to Hobby Lobby so I can buy new fabric for them. I had to order, what did I order? Oh, an adjustable strap. So I had to order that square thing with the tab in the middle so you can adjust your strap. That's going to be a first for me. I may have made an adjustable strap once years ago, but it's been so long it doesn't really count. And that's it. Okay, we've been here for 2 hours and we've made 2 zipper pouches and we chatted. So I think we did pretty good. Leave that out. All right, let me show you my zipper tab ends that I've saved. I think I bought this container that's dusty. I probably bought this, well, early on in the crafting. I love it. It's got these lock handles. It's not too tall, but now these long ones I can see you can easily make a bracelet with like these, because this was probably like a 22-inch that I cut down to nothing. Thank you, Giovanna. I'm so glad you guys hung out with me and chatted with me while we made these. So I have all of these that can be done something with them, but then I have these, so I'm not sure. Now on some of these, I think we can get rid of that metal tab because you can take pliers and pull it off and separate it and then just have fun with it. Whether they just go on to fabric postcards for silly funness, or they actually get turned into some type of a project. But I think I want to get some more of these little short containers with the lids. That works really well, but it's almost full to the top, so I need to do something. This is on the list for this year. Working with these and working with the threads that I cut off. Now I have a few projects and a couple of videos that I've seen to save for this. Now this was a little container that I made, and I think I was just playing with it, and I had a hard time getting everything to line up right, so I just kept it for myself. And if you're following along with Pat Sloan, I think today was the day you're supposed to go through and get all the dust bunnies out of these containers. I do mine every couple of weeks because I just work with so much batting and stuff, it fuzzes everywhere. But this fits in here. I keep the lid on it so my cats don't get to it. And I keep a couple of the little things in that I need to use all the time. And it just stays here and you see it. The knot bracelet doesn't need them that long. You have to send me a picture, Giovanna. I have a couple of ideas, but I'm not sure I'm quite picturing exactly what you're talking about. Oh, so these have to get put away. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a great weekend. So Friday's tutorial, next Friday, which today's what, the 20th? So the 27th, we only have one Friday left before we get into February. We are going to make a sewing mat with the ones that hang over and have the little pockets on it. So we're going to do that. I'm going to talk to you about, you can put the pockets on the front, you can put it on the side if it hangs over to the edge. I don't have one like that because the pockets would always be in my way. But I'm thinking about making one with the pockets off the right hand side because there's an edge of the table at the side of my sewing machine. And I think that might work for me. So we're going to make that next week. Oh, there we go. And then we'll have the live stream in the 1st of February after that. Anna, I'm looking forward to see what I'm going to do too. I have there's more of them. I have no idea. But I hope you guys enjoyed just figuring out how to take, see now, doesn't that look like we worked really hard? But these were scraps that someone had and they didn't want to throw them away, so they shared them with me. I mean, we did a lot. We turned our fabric backwards. Oh, okay, no problem. It maybe if you've seen one, are yours like original, so there's none online or anything like that? I'm just really curious. I can't quite picture it in my head. If you find one, great. If you don't, no worries. You don't have to go searching for it or anything. Just make sure everything's lined up. Now this, okay, now this one maybe we'll say like, okay, so here I think I cut it a little crooked, so it's short here and a smidge higher there, and we're talking such a small amount. But if I didn't point it out, you might not have even noticed it. Thank you, Robin. Thank you for hanging out with me. So keep your scraps, throw away your scraps, but if you have some, use them up. Start gift sewing now. So when the holidays come, when birthdays come, Mother's Day, Father's Day, grandkids' birthdays, Christmas, you'll have a container, you'll have a little bin, a little basket full of these. And you can even let someone come over. Oh, okay, maybe I'll find it when I do a little search and come across it. You can put a bunch of these into a little fabric basket that you buy or make, or a plastic one, and people can come over and they'll be like, okay, oh, can I have this one, Grandma? Or, hey, Robin, I really love this one, and, I'm your best friend. Can I have it, please? And, you'll have gifts and everything all ready for people. You'll have ended a day of work, of whatever you're doing. Maybe you're having a bad day. You don't feel that great. You can make a quick little pouch so you did something creative this week and finish off at a high point. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Next month, we're going to do this the third Friday of February, which is the 17th, after Valentine's Day. Check out that Patreon page if you're curious and interested, and I'm going to figure that out. I'm telling myself by the end of January, I have to have that Patreon and what it's about video, it's up. So I'm going to my daughter-in-law birthday party tomorrow. I'll whip up one of these pouches and add some lottery tickets or a gift card. Thanks, I was browsing at Charms at Michael's. Yeah, see, you can add something onto it. You can put even buy like a keychain and add it onto here if you don't have any of this stuff. You can put almost anything you want. You can even take like earrings or something and just crimp it somehow. You can put fabric through it or ribbon, whatever you want. And I think that's a great idea. You can whip it out in an hour's time, a little more, a little less, and you'll have that special little handmade added on gift with a little money inside or a gift card. And I think it's a great way to give someone something handmade and a gift card. Bye, everybody. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. All of my replay viewers, thank you so much for making it to the end. And I'll see you guys. I'll see my patrons on Sunday, and I'll see everyone else on Wednesday. Have a great weekend. Bye.